Dear Garment Sewing, doll clothes. That's how we got to know each other. Graham made me and my baby doll perfectly matching rompers, pajamas, and robes. As I got older, Graham turned her attention to kitting Barbie out in the newest fashions. For Christmas, the gift-wrapped Tom McCann shoeboxes were open to reveal dozens of bespoke, hand-sewn Barbie clothes. I obsessively concocted the next Barbie outfits: seersucker, bell-bottoms, halter tops, mini dresses, swimming suits. Every summer when I came to visit, Graham and I plotted, planned, cut, and sewed more of what I had dreamed up, all on her Singer treadle sewing machine. As I grew older, my fascination with fashion was fueled by my subscription to 17 magazine. I wanted the outfits I saw on the pages, and I knew that if I could turn out tiny Barbie clothes, I could definitely make my own clothes. Peach velour zip front shorts romper? Check. Sailor pants? Check. Pink gingham tiered granny skirt? Check, check. If I imagined it, I made it. I loved to while away the hours poring over pattern catalogs. Every page was a possibility. Sometimes, just to challenge myself, I'd choose a Butterick or a Vogue pattern. Together, we kept learning. Fabric choice, fit, proportion, tailoring, buttonholes, zippers, French seams. Garment Sewing, you are a steadfast and loyal partner. You are so important to me, Garment Sewing, that I want to share you with others. I love teaching others how to create what they imagine and imagine what they can create. I tell anyone who will listen that one of the best gifts I've ever been given were the lessons my grandmother taught me at her sewing machine. I am paying homage to my grandma each time I share with you someone new. I hope those I teach also pay it forward. Promise burgeons on the horizon for the home sewist. A tribe of independent designers are changing the landscape, and a slew of new patterns, silhouettes, and approaches to making one's own wardrobe. Fabric choices are more varied than ever before. The internet and social media has connected the community in ways I, for one, never imagined. I'm excited for the future Garment Sewing, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Our love is home-sewn baby bibs and Halloween costumes. Our love is tunic dresses and play clothes. Our love is flannel pajama pants and prom dresses. Our love is everywhere you look. With all my crafty heart, Heidi. Hi, welcome to Love Letters to Crafting. My name's Heidi and I'm your host. Today we're going to talk about garment sewing. But before we get into that, I wanted to thank everyone who has watched my first two videos. The first video was on sock knitting and the second video was on quilting. They're up on YouTube if you'd like to catch up. And I wanted to also let you know how to get in touch with me. I am at Heidi Sue Wallace on Instagram, and I am Heidi Sue on Ravelry. You can also email me at hswallace65@gmail.com. Thanks to everyone who is a returning viewer, and if you're a new viewer, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see, and let's get started. So I have my beverage, again, in my vintage Simplicity pattern mug. Super cute, super adorable. Look at those mod ladies. They are working it. They know all their angles. I want to make sure that I'm hydrated because I have a lot I want to talk to you about today. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. Indeed, the first real garment I made for myself was a peach velour jumpsuit in 7th grade home ec. My friend Jody Elliott and I went to the fabric store together, and that is what we chose. We chose peach velour with a zipper and trim. So imagine two 7th grade girls who both weighed together about 110 pounds, all arms and legs, and we got this sort of fitted, fancy velour zip front romper jumpsuit thing. Yeah. So we learned a lot. I think our home ec teacher was a little dubious about what our finished project was going to look like. But we both learned a lot about it. I had never sewn stretch fabric before. I'd never put in a zipper. So it taught me a lot of good skills. And I am sorry that I do not have that little romper. But I will put a picture of the pattern in here. I searched on the internet and I was able to find my McCall's pattern that Jody Elliott and I used for our 7th grade home ec project. But I moved on, and the next item I really wanted to make was a pair of sailor pants, and I cut out the wrong size. Okay. I probably didn't have enough fabric for the size that I really should have made, and so I cut out the wrong size, and they were a little snug in the rise. And so I was trying to problem solve on my own about how to fix that. And in my 15-year-old brain, the way to do that would be to sew the rise again. What I should have done was cut the rise lower. But what I did was I sewed the rise, and so it kept pulling the fabric up in that area. I finally ended up calling my Aunt Sue, who was one of my grandmother's sisters, who was a very accomplished seamstress, who made all of her own clothes, all of them. And she said, that's not the right way to solve that problem. And we worked it through. We ended up making that pair of pants into a skirt. So I felt very accomplished when I wore that skirt. But then that started a whole bunch of projects. I thought, I can do this. I love clothes. I love fashion. And the way to build my wardrobe is to make my own clothes. Then you know they're going to fit. You know it's the fabric that you like. So that is really what started me on the road to pursuing garment sewing. What really got me so excited again about garment sewing was the partnership between commercial pattern companies, Simplicity, McCall's, with independent designers, indie designers. And that partnership really started to change my mind about the big commercial pattern companies. Up to that point, for me, they didn't really represent the type of sewing that I wanted to do for myself. But when they came out with these Lizette patterns in particular, I got very excited. The way that they photographed them, the way that the directions were put together, it just really, it excited me again. So the first one that I got was this Lizette pattern. And this one's from 2011. And the dress that I have on right now is this one. I think it's this view. But it has pockets, super duper important. And I made it out of this fabric, this vintage fabric that I believe, I got it in an estate sale. I believe it was a duvet cover. So, yeah, it got me excited. I like to pair new patterns with vintage fabrics, vintage patterns with new fabrics. I like to get them all together because I think that's what really makes your work personal to you, is your fabric choices, your pattern choices, the way that you finish something. It makes it so personal, and that's what I really like about it. So the next thing that I made was this dress right here, which also happens to be a Lizette pattern. It's this pattern right here. And I have made that pattern no less than 4 times. I've also made it into a top. I've made it with modern quilting fabrics, I've made it with batik fabrics, I've made it with vintage bark cloth fabrics. So I'm going to get a couple of those and bring them over to show them to you, okay? The thing I love about this dress is that you can wear it without the belt, and it's a tunic. The only shortcoming of this pattern, in my opinion, it's super fast to sew up, but the only shortcoming was that it didn't have pockets. So in other iterations, I've added my own pockets to that. So I made this one out of vintage fabric that I got in an estate sale, usually where I get a lot of my fabrics. And then the next one I made was out of this quilting cotton. I love this fabric. Like I said, this silhouette is really wearable. This is a tunic and you can wear it, I just wear it in the summertime, but in the wintertime I wear it with a long sleeve tee underneath it, with a cardigan and pockets. So perfect. Yeah, so this, it's a really comfortable, casual tunic dress with a very flattering scoop neck, not too low. And if it was too low for yourself, if you're a home sewer, you could just make the shoulder seam a little bit narrower, deeper, I mean. So then last summer it was the total eclipse here in Missouri. So I had to make a total eclipse dress. So we got this fabric when we were in Paducah, and I just thought it looked like the eclipse. You see it? This one I didn't make with pockets because I was under a time crunch, but yeah, very cute. Then I didn't have enough of this fabric, so I made it into a top, and I made a patch pocket right there. So see, it looks totally different as a top. I wear that, you can wear it with jean shorts. I wear it with jean shorts. And then this is another piece of vintage bark cloth that I got at an estate sale. And I just had enough to make this dress. But this is perfect fall dress. Pockets. Yeah, so one thing I really enjoy is finding a pattern that is such a good fit that you want to make it again and again. And not only do I like making my own handmade things, but I like collecting other people's handmade things. A couple weeks ago, we were at an estate sale, and I got a couple handmade dresses, and I noticed that they were the same pattern, that they were in different fabrics, and you couldn't really tell that they were the same pattern until I got them home, and I realized, yeah, this person had found the perfect silhouette for them. And so they made it a number of times because now you know the pitfalls, you know where you need to tweak the bust line, where you need to take in the darts, how long you want to make it. Every time I make a garment, I learn something new. I perfect it a little bit better. You know, this garment may have taken me a while because of the bias trim, but now it's like, it's second nature. I hardly even need the pattern anymore. And I don't know that there are a lot. I decide, hey, I want a new dress. Hey, I like this fabric. Hey, I'm going to use this fabric with this pattern that I already know how to make. And really in like 3 hours, you can have a brand new dress. I love that. That's great. And that's the difference between garment sewing and knitting, is that really garment sewing is practically instant gratification. So if you're feeling like you need a boost of confidence in your crafting, make something, sew something. That will do it. So last week I talked about, when I was talking about quilting, I had on a tunic top that I had made, and I had made it out of some fabric that someone had given me at a little crafty weekend. And it is actually this Simplicity Learn to Sew pattern. And it's another one of those perfectly wearable tunic patterns. I made this one, but I lengthened it. And you could make it as long as you want. This pattern suggests, there's some suggestions in this pattern that you don't lengthen it more than a certain length, but you don't need to follow the directions all the time. You're the boss of your sewing, and you can make it as long or as short as you want. I think it's super affordable, wearable, good tunic. And I like the little detail, the little yoke detail, the little gathering right there is super flattering. Yeah, so and I'm sorry, maybe you love this, but this is what I mean personally about big commercial pattern companies. I don't know if that really is speaking to the home sewist, modern home sewist, that fabric choice, that belt. There's something more modern about the photography and the styling on this pattern as opposed to the photography and styling on this pattern. This is not a good fabric choice. I'm just saying. So you have to really have a good imagination if you are a home sewer who is trying to page through the catalogs at the fabric store. So that is past sewing. I want to talk to you a little bit about future sewing and the current state of sewing for the home garment maker. A couple of months ago, my husband and I went to Denver on a vacation, and we stopped in Fancy Tiger Crafts. And oh my gosh, if you guys have never been there, you need to go. I was overwhelmed. I said that about going to the knitting conventions too, so maybe what I'm really saying is that I get overwhelmed easily. But when it comes to crafting goodies and shops that have everything you could possibly imagine, I think it's okay. I think it's perfectly understandable that one might get overwhelmed. Also, when I get excited and I know something's really good, I get a little sweaty, and my husband's like, "Are you sweaty?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, this is a good store." So we went to Fancy Tiger Crafts, and I was really looking for Jen Hewitt's new fabric line for Cotton and Steel. If you're not familiar, Jen Hewitt is an independent artist working out of San Francisco she does screen printing, but she also does printing with stamps that she carves. And she teaches classes, and she has a new book. It's called Print Pattern Sew. And not only does it teach you about printing on fabric, but it also has those same lovely, simple silhouettes, patterns to make out of your fabric that you print. She has accessories, she has dresses, she has tunics, blouses. So really just lovely, simple lines. I just love that. So I got this in Denver, and also I picked up some of her fabric. This is for Cotton and Steel. This is on a really lovely linen. I just adore this. So graphic. It's sort of old-fashioned vintage. It has sort of an Asian vibe. I dig it. I think it's really cool. So it's inspiring. So now I thought, oh, that'd be great for some of the patterns in her book, but also I picked up, I know everybody in the whole world is making this 100 Acts of Sewing pattern. This is tunic number 1. I have dress number 1. I've already made that one time, but I really, really like that silhouette. I dig that patch pocket. My friend Becky is a huge 100 Acts of Sewing fan. So I picked that up to pair with this fabric. So I'm excited about that. One of the things that this summer, I know I've been devoting a lot of time to my quilt project, my 100 Blocks project, but I started out this summer in search of the perfect tank cami pattern. Fringe Supply, Karen Templer, has this Summer of Basics sew along, and she had posted this combo of this tunic top with a shorter finish, like a shorter hem, with a tank or cami that sort of showed from the bottom. And I'm like, oh, I need to make that. And she had used this pattern, this Grainline Studio pattern. And she had modified the back so that it wasn't a split back. This is actually a pajama pattern. But she had modified the back so that it was just one piece and not a swing open back. So I thought, well, I'm sure that I can find some tank patterns, some cami patterns. Well, easier said than done. So I started with this. I adore this pattern. I'm just going to say that. I adore this pattern. And I made this tank camisole slip dress as an experiment. But for what I wanted it for, the shoulder straps were too wide. And I have pretty wide shoulders, but it felt like they were too far on the edge of my shoulder. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to, first of all, I traced the pattern and I made a muslin. And I realized in the muslin that my bust darts were incorrect. So I redrafted the pattern. Didn't redraft it. I redrew the darts and I remade it in the muslin. And then I thought, okay, this is pretty close. And I used my actual linen fabric. And I wore it to work. I wore it with a button-down shirt underneath it, like a jumper. But I could just tell the straps were too far out. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the drawing board. And I found this new look pattern. And I thought, okay, this is pretty close. Those straps look far apart, but her shoulders are pretty broad as well. So and I used I used the finished garment and I used the fabric from that, and still too far apart, So I relented and I got this Grainline Studio pattern. I haven't made it yet because I'm deep into the quilt blocks, people, but this is the next for me. And so I'm sitting and I'm thinking about, there go all my patterns. I'm thinking about how I'm going to put it together, and just lo and behold, on my sewing table are this beautiful vintage, I guess it's a calico. It feels just like a woven cotton. Those colors are so luscious together. This dreamy pink with this gray, with this coppery, mustardy yumminess. Baby poop. Love it. Okay, so that's going to be the tagline. Baby poop. Love that. But then I saw this and this is quilting cotton. This is from Carolyn Friedlander. She's one of my favorite independent fabric designers. She also does quilt patterns. But I'm going to try and get those so you can see. So here's this modern new fabric. Here's this vintage cotton together. So this would be the tunic and this would be the camisole underneath. I mean, just great. And then this Japanese linen just happened to be on my cutting table too. So a little jacket maybe that goes with all that. It's a wish list item. It's a sewing wish list item. So for folks who are beginner sewists, where to start? I think that there are now a lot of beginner-friendly patterns in the commercial pattern industry. They have what are called pattern hacks. So you could buy a simple pair of pants, and it tells you how to hack them, how to change them so you could do this drawstring belt, the longer, shorter. Yeah, these are perfect. I can't wait to make these. I have some printed stretch denim that I want to make these pants in. Also, if you see stuff that is ridiculously expensive, I'm not saying that garment sewing is an endeavor that you would undertake to save money. No, no, no. Patterns and fabric and time spent, those all add up. It's not an economical hobby if that is your goal, to save money. But I will say that there are some clothing stores out there that shall remain nameless that are selling items that are overpriced for what you get. And you could make them for less than what they're charging in the store. I saw this exact silhouette, this exact denim jumper in a store at a very snazzy mall near us, and no, can make it. You can definitely make it for less than the price tag. That was $150. This is not $150. Okay? I'm just saying. So, and I can make it in a fabric that I like. And I can make sure that it fits me. And I can make sure that the length is correct. And yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Sometimes home sewing for what you want is economical compared to what you can get at a high priced store. So what's next? Well, I have a lot of little things on my table here, but what I wanted to show you was one of the things I like about my skill set is that I can help other people. And today I met my friend Becky for coffee. Becky, who made me this beautiful necklace for my birthday. She's also a garment sewer, and she was having a challenge with something that she was making. And so she drew me a little picture on this napkin, and we brainstormed how to fix. This is I think it's called the Charlie dress, the Charlie shift, or the Charlie tunic. Anyway, she is at the part where you gather here and then there's a piece of fabric and then you turn it all inside out. And she and I brainstormed about how to fix the problem. She was just a little stuck. And so we figured it out by drawing it out. And yeah, so I hope to hear that she has accomplished her goal. I'm just going to show you a couple other things. What I really want to talk to you about. So it's not about independent designers. It's not about commercial pattern companies. It's about self-drafting patterns. You can do that. If I can do it, you can do it. So let me just show you something, okay? So as I said, my family comes from a long line of seamstresses and fabric lovers, and my Aunt Gert used to work in a very fancy fabric store downtown St. Louis, and so she had amassed quite a collection of fabric, and my grandmother was the recipient of that fabric. Some of the fabric that she shared with me. Also, this pattern, I want to tell you a little bit about it before I show you the garment, it was before the influx of the tunic top, the shift top in the industry. There are a number of pattern companies now that have a similar silhouette, but at the time when I drafted this pattern, it didn't exist. And so I just wanted something simple, a tunic with a dolman sleeve. It's not even a dolman sleeve because it's not very long. But I wanted something to pair with this fabric that was simple and that showed off the fabric. And so I drafted this pattern. I came up with a muslin. I tested it. I tried it out. And then I finally cut into this fabric. So this is a beautiful silk. I made the pattern actually on the wrong side of the fabric. I liked it. It looked the dots looked a little wabi-sabi to me. So this is the correct side of the fabric. The dots are much more defined, but I just liked that little scritchy, scratchy, graphic quality. So it's just a simple top, a simple sleeve, all one piece, front and back is just one piece. And then I finished it with bias binding. But I thought, I can make my own patterns. So I made this. This is some quilting cotton that I got from Joann's. And I made it's the same pattern, but I made it shorter for that, for my elusive tank camisole when it comes out. I made this for a trip. I made a wardrobe of clothes for a trip that we took because I wanted everything to sort of match, and this was one of the items that I made. So you can draft your own patterns. You can use finished clothes to make your own patterns. There are lots of tutorials on YouTube about that, and I highly encourage you to do that because it teaches you a lot, especially the process of making the pattern, then trying the pattern out on muslin, or you can make a working muslin, something that will eventually be worn. I just think it teaches you so much that it is worthwhile for everyone, even if you have no intention of drafting something as complicated as pants. You could learn a lot from the process, from the undertaking of looking at a new pattern for yourself. I love sewing. I love finished objects that I can wear. I love the little thrill I get when somebody says, "Oh, I love your outfit." And I say, "I made it." I am aiming towards a completely handmade wardrobe, me-made wardrobe. You know what? Everything's handmade. Somebody's hands made it, but me-made. Socks to hats to underwear. Let's just say there's a lot of people out there right now that are making their own bras, and they are perfect fit, I've heard. So I want to talk about it more, and as I undertake some of my other goal items on my list, I'll share them here with you. But for right now, let's get to P.S. I Love You. P.S. I Still Love You is the section where I talk about my crafty loves from previous episodes, and I have talked about these socks on 2 episodes, and partially because knitting one pair of these socks is like knitting 2 pairs of socks of a regular size pair. So these are my knee socks, and I have made significant progress since last week when I showed them to you. So I don't think I was to the decreases after the fullest part of my calf last week. So I started the decreases after I got to 4 1/4 inches here, and I decreased down to my regular 68 stitches, and now I'm just knitting. And I've been weighing my yarn so that I can be assured that I'm going to have enough for my second sock. So the yarn ball that I was using, that I am using, is 100 grams. So I keep weighing it just to make sure that when I get to 50 grams, that I'll know that that is the time to start using my contrast color for the toe. And whether I start to decrease for the toe at that time, I keep trying them on. And right now I'm to the top of my foot. So this is all the leg. And then I'll be starting the foot. I'll do an afterthought heel. So I just thought you'd want to see those. I have made progress, and I am very excited about them. The other thing that I've been working on, and we haven't talked about it before, but it sort of leads me into some other topics that I wanted to talk about today, is this sweater. Okay, I'm going to try and pull it closer. Maybe I'll move over. So this is the Go-To Marled Raglan, or the Go-To Raglan by Stephen West. And yeah, I am finished with the body and the contrast. It has a rolled finished hem. It's very finished looking. I like it. I've tried it on. It looks great. It's going to be a little bit longer than this because this is superwash yarn, and I know it's going to grow a little bit. I still have the sleeves to go, and the sleeves will be the same marled color. This is 2 colors of hedgehog fiber sock, Oracle and Anime. So yeah, I really like it. I think it's going to be pretty. Now I have heard that sleeves are 1/3 of your sweater knitting time, so I still have quite a bit of knitting to go. But I wanted to finish soon-ish because has anybody else signed up for the Stephen West Mystery Shawl Knit Along? It starts October 5th. And I wanted to finish this, and I also have a Penguono, a Stephen West Penguono on the needles that I'd like to finish because the pattern, I really need to feel like I'm, making progress. So I got the kit. Did anybody else buy the kit? I got kit number 11. And this is, can you see that? Oh yeah, you can. So this is Ching Fiber, and this is kit number 11 from West Knits, and it's for the Mystery Knit Along. This is Melted Surrey. I've never used that, so I'm very excited. The gray in the middle, this gray right here, is the main color. These are the 3 contrast colors, and then this Melted Surrey is one of the contrast colors. You don't know what it's going to look like. You just get clues starting October 5th for section 1, and then you just have to take Stephen West at his word and knit on till morning. I've made I actually made 2 mystery shawls in the past, and I love the finished object. You don't know what you're going to get. It's just his brain works like nobody else's brain. So I think it's interesting. I have this sweater on the needles. I have a Penguono on the needles. I have a Vertices Unite shawl on the needles, and I'm getting ready to start this Mystery Knit Along. So yeah, I have a lot of knitting to do. So I'm excited about that. That was also my stash enhancement portion of the show. I don't know how people feel about that. Some people have some mixed reactions about people showing what they've bought, but I just wanted to find out if other people that I know are doing the Mystery Knit Along, and if they bought the kit or if they're stash diving. I didn't have that Melted Surrey, so I felt like I wanted to have his vision in my head when I undertook that pattern. So I'm glad you joined me today. I know I've been sort of all over the place because even when I was trying to write up the notes for this episode, I couldn't stay focused. I'm like, do I start with what I love to sew? How do I approach this? And there's still a lot to say about this topic, and I think we'll revisit it before very long. Until then, I hope that you enjoy your week, and I hope you come back. Once again, I'm at Heidi Sue Wallace on Instagram, and I'm Heidi Sue on Ravelry. And if you'd like to email me, I am hswallace65@gmail.com. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd love to subscribe, then you'll be kept abreast of when new episodes are loaded to this channel. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon. Bye.